We're here at Gen Con in front of the Modiphius booth, along with Sam and John from Modiphius. If you don't know, they are masters when it comes to miniatures and RPGs, and you have some pretty cool properties involving both of those kinds of gaming elements.
Yes, we do. We have a lot of stuff, don't we, John?
Yes.
All right, so I think we might as well start with my personal favorite, Fallout. Big fan of the game series, and you did have the miniatures last Gen Con. We actually got to play test that and had a lot of fun with it. But now you have a book release to come with the to go with the miniatures.
Yeah, so that's a standalone RPG expansion for the miniatures game. So it uses the same rules, but it gives you all the tools for like character creation and game mastery kind of stuff. What we call the overseer for that game. It's designed, developed by the same guy who did the tabletop miniatures game, James Sheehan. So it's a very easy port if you know the miniatures game, but it's also accessible for people who want to try their hand at the role-playing game right now.
Right. And does this take in fact like all the different factions and stuff? Can you play as different factions, or is it still like this is just the first book for more of like if you want to be the wanderer, the guy who walks the wasteland?
Well, so it's got different archetypes in it, and it uses the cards in the miniatures game quite a bit too. So we've developed some new archetype cards, and that doesn't tie you down to any specific faction or any specific kind of like species. So you can play like a super mutant. I think you could even play robots and stuff.
Yeah,
that's true.
Robot rules are in that.
Sweet. Nice.
Yeah, so there's all sorts of options, and it gives you more of a toolkit to just kind of play what you want rather than like tying down to specifics.
Now, this is the first book. Are you planning to have any other books to go along with it? I assume, of course, miniatures to match whatever you need for your campaign.
Yeah, sure. So we're going to bring out some accessories too. That's stuff like a kind of GM's toolkit, like we've got the screen and stuff like that. So that's in development at the moment. Otherwise, we're also going to be bringing out a 2D20 version of the Fallout role-playing game. So 2D20 is more of our mainstream kind of proprietary system that we use for most of our other role-playing games like Conan and Infinity, John Carter, Star Trek Adventures, and what will be coming out with Dune as well. So there's we thought, why not make two role-playing games when you could just make one?
Because, of course, more work. How could it possibly hurt?
That's all we need.
And does it, you mentioned it, since it would be in the same system, could they be mixed at all, or are they really designed to all be standalone?
They are, yeah, because what we do each time is because we have a lot of licensed games, we particularly look at the IP and the source material, and we tailor the game to those IPs. So Dune is going to feel a lot different from, say, Infinity, or from Conan, which is much more sword and sorcery. And again, that's different from Star Trek Adventures, which is much more about going out and exploring the galaxy and discovering cool things and lots of scientific and diplomatic stuff too. So we develop a system kind of not independently of each other, but like redevelop it every single time, rather than just like reskinning it with like a Federation badge on it, you know?
So you make sure people really feel they are in the wastelands instead of just, I'm just happen to be here rolling the D20 in all the same way.
Yeah, I'm working on the 2D20 version at the moment, and one of the key things that I want to make sure of is kind of keeping to some of its old tabletop RPG roots. So like Fallout 1 and 2, the back end of that was very much kind of set with like a D100 system and all that kind of stuff. So I've been taking some notes from that, also taking some notes from how characters were kind of made or presented to players. And I think a lot of that can transpose over to a more like a modern tabletop game.
Do you think you'll ever maybe make adventure models sort of based on the game? So like this is obviously going to be more in the one area or two or three, you know, because everyone has their favorites.
Yeah, right. So I hope so. It's obviously going to be difficult with Bethesda because we don't want to paint them into a corner, or we don't want to kind of create a new bit of fiction that suddenly they're like, wait a second, what's this that everyone's talking about? So we're going to work closely with them on developing something like that, hopefully, and get their approval on that too.
Speaking of them, you have another one of their fun properties here now. Announced Elder Scrolls, particularly, I know many of the Dragonborn you have here.
John?
Yeah, so obviously we've been working really hard on Fallout miniatures for the last 3-4 years. It's been a long project. We're still very much carrying that journey on. This is not the end of Fallout by any stretch of the imagination. We've got rolling releases for the next 6 to 8 months already lined up, hitting the warehouse. Then there's a whole bunch of stuff. There's some super top secret stuff that we can't announce yet that's going to blow people away. Elder Scrolls is our new game. It's out of development now, so we finished up design and development last month, and it's now hitting production. So we're in final layout, proofing, blah, 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 miniature creation. So we're shooting for a kind of a very late 2019 release. Maybe it's going to slide into 2020, depending on shipping and so forth. It's like its DNA started with the Fallout game, and the original plan was almost like you were saying with the RPG, let's just scratch the numbers off and change the name. And then very quickly we were like, that's not really true to the Elder Scrolls universe. So if you've played the Fallout Wasteland Warfare RPG, you'll recognize like the essence of the game, but then it's spun off into its own thing. So probably the easiest way I can, like a total like million-yard overview, Fallout is a management of activations game, whereas Elder Scrolls is a resource management game. So activations are a resource, so technically the same. But so in Elder Scrolls, you have a stamina meter. So when you play your Dovahkiin, you have to charge your meter. You can choose how to spend that for special attacks, power attacks. In the miniatures game, same thing applies. So all the models have a certain amount of stamina that they can spend to do extra damage or to do a more powerful charge, so on and so forth. But as you spend that obviously ticks down, and then you have to slowly let that rebuild through time, through taking a breath and rebuilding. So that's that sort of the subtle difference. I think the other sort of main takeaway with Elder Scrolls is it's very character driven. So there are a metric boatload of characters in Fallout, but the game itself plays around a kind of a combination of lots of heroes and lots of troops. Elder Scrolls is the core building blocks of your faction are your characters, because they're the ones with more stamina. They're kind of the battery that drives your army. But then you will have your henchmen as well. So we're sort of looking, roughly speaking, a ratio of 2 heroes to every 3 henchmen. That's like a very broad guide. Different factions it will change, and depending on your playstyle. I'm someone who really likes the nameless grunt. I have a lot of empathy for them. Like I play Imperial Guard when I play 40k because I love the nameless horde of heroes who have no.
They deserve love.
Yeah, man, for sure, right? So, like, I will probably lean quite heavily into an Imperial army with a lot of troopers, but you will have those kind of real beatstick characters, or, the ones with the special powers, the magic, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how it slides away. I think the other thing as well that's quite an interesting variant. We built this really powerful AI system in the Fallout wargame. It's way more advanced than a lot of AI systems out there. It does more than just move, shoot, and fight. It behaves according to the battlefield situation and its mission, and that's kind of a bolt-on or it's one of the different ways of playing Fallout. With Elder Scrolls, we really wanted to utilize that because we're quite proud of that engine. Like, we're looking at ways of bringing it into other systems in the future. There's a hint for the future. And we wanted to make sure that was actually central to the game. So when we play a game, let's say you and I were going to have a competitive game, there would actually be a third army. There would be an AI force on the table as well. So there'll be these spawn points that will be dropping, say you're in a Draugr tomb and these Draugr start, lurching out from the shadows, and they will start interfering with the game. So rather than just be UV-me, it's UV-me plus there is then this third party. Or alternatively, we love cooperation, we love cooperative games, we love narrative games. It might be that we're playing a co-op delve, so we're down in those tombs with our parties trying to find the treasure, steal the loot, all that stuff. And then there is this force of skeletons, wolves, spiders, all the kind of the mad Morrowind creatures that you're... Morrowind, I'm old. Tamriel creatures. Morrowind is coming, don't worry. They will be looming out of the system, the dungeon that you're fighting through, and intercepting you. So yeah, there's Fallout has kind of 4 ways to play out of the box. This one's more like 2 ways to play for now, but then we know people like our campaign systems. Everyone loves to fight a campaign, so there is a full settlement, development, and campaign mode coming in a future product. I think that's it for now. And dragons, that's the other thing. So
you mentioned Morrowind, and everyone has their favorite Elder Scrolls game, and I always love hearing people argue with each other about it. How do you actually pace that out? Are you going to just go all in on one world, or like try to split it up evenly?
So we're starting with Skyrim because Skyrim is the game that has to be on every platform ever in the history of life. So why not bring it to the tabletop? So the 2-player starter set is Imperial versus Stormcloak. So it's kind of a reenactment of that civil war. However, we're already working. We've already got scopes for some Elder Scrolls Online sets. We are working on Morrowind. Like, it's a case of Skyrim's the most obvious jumping off point because it's the most recent in people's memories. So that's the one that people know. But we've seen it with Fallout. So yes, we started with Fallout 4 because again that was the most recent one. We've already shown off a lot of stuff from Fallout 3, from Fallout 1, from Fallout 2. We go as far back as we're allowed to go, which is everything really. It's just a case of finding the release schedule. So we know, like with Fallout, when we released last year, there was a little bumpy patch at the start where we were tying down the final logistics of manufacturing and shipping. We figured that all out now. It's a much smoother path now. So we now have a better kind of handle on what our physical bandwidth is in a given month. So we will then apply the same notion to Elder Scrolls and be like, right, how long have we got to do this? How long can it take to do that? And so everything's coming. We did a poll. We wanted to see what people were into, and we do sort of feed that back in. Now, we're not entirely driven by what people tell us, but it's always good to see. So there's no point, like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to make a, Khajiit mercenary Weaver faction, and everyone's like
for that one guy, right?
That one guy, right? That one guy who's like, yes, that's my jam, and everyone else is like, how about some of those sweet Stormcloaks, dude? Like, are you mad? So like, we have to be sensible at how we approach it, but we do listen to the community. Like you say, everyone's got their favorite, and obviously everyone's like, choose mine because I'm the best, right? So it's about finding the right sort of balance and spread, but it's all coming. Don't worry. Like.
Now, both of these properties you just talked about, Bethesda, very popular ones. Would you guys ever, if you could, maybe you already do, work with some of their other properties like Rage, Doom, stuff like that?
Yeah.
So we were at QuakeCon a week ago where we unveiled Liberty Prime, and somebody asked the same question. Yes, absolutely. We've got really a good relationship with Bethesda. They're great to work with. We've really started to gel with them. We know what they expect from us, what we expect from them. There's a few licenses out there that I would love to work with. I mean, Doom is the obvious one. I'm really keen to do a set of Doom models. I'm making no promises, so please don't say Doom confirmed. I'm not saying Doom confirmed, but we are certainly looking into that. And I really want to just do a Commander Keen model, just to know if anyone knows what it is. Like,
that would be very interesting.
Doesn't know what it is, right?
If you really want to go into that vault, their deep vault. So, is there anything else that I might have missed that you want to announce and tell everyone here about?
I think we covered most of it.
Yeah, so Wave 3 is coming very soon. So Wave 3 is Institute for Fallout, so if you've been waiting for the Institute, they're coming soon. And the other great thing about Wave 3 is it brings new expansions for the Wave 1 factions as well. So new Super Mutants, new Brotherhood of Steel, new Survivors. We've got the show models here this weekend. They're only going to be available during show weekend, so if you haven't got them and you're not at Gen Con, jump on our website. I'd love to announce the other things, but I think I'd be strung up if I said the words that
You can tell us personally later.
Yeah, sure, we'll talk about it later. Well, it's Commander Keen confirmed 2020, right? That's happening. That's the thing.
Yeah, and they secretly have Doom just underneath the table, just hiding there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a fun story. We were supposed to be announcing Elder Scrolls at Adepticon. We had to hold back for like a little bit longer, and we genuinely had all the Elder Scrolls models under the table. And I'm sitting there like, I really want this model, but I literally cannot reveal it because we've not got the green light yet. So
you've heard it here. Check underneath every table now. But until then, this has been Roll for Crit.
For more Gen Con content, like this video, subscribe to Roll for Crit, and follow us on all our social media platforms.
But if you really need more, you can visit our Patreon. We'll be having a exclusive little Gen Con mini podcast to listen to.
And there's our contest running right now for the Keyforge Age of Ascension set. You can try to win. Find the link in the description down below.